feeling from Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
All right, top of the morning to you, everybody. Had a little operator error this morning. I'm the guy responsible for saying, okay, we're all good. And I pushed the final button that says go live. And I thought we went live long ago. And then producer Chad says we're not live. And I said, oh, we're not. That's my responsibility. I take full ownership of that. I forgot to hit the final button because that's my final sign off, that I'm in my chair and ready to go for the program that we call Lakey Unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And here we are on the 18th day of December, year of our Lord. Let's see, year of our Lord 2025. Ray checks in on YouTube, says good morning from Oregon. We appreciate you. Stacy checks in from Texas. All of you folks that are new to the program, it's kind of a tradition. If you want to be one of the cool kids, don't be shy. There's no need to be shy. Just dip right into the deep end here and just let us know where you're at. All the regulars do that, and we know where they're from. We'd like to all of you newcomers out there. Again, every day, thousands of earballs. I don't know where you're watching, and you may be on a platform that's watching. Like a page is watching 3 people watching it, but another page may have 30 people watching it. And so it all comes together by the time the podcast goes out there. Thousands of earballs hear this show and or see this show. And if you're one of the newer folks out there, jump in the deep end and say, hi-de-ho, neighbor. And you do that by commenting on the program in the comment section of wherever you're viewing and witnessing this program that, again, we call Lakey Unleashed. Kevin jumps in on the YouTube, says, good morning from Denver International Airport. Rich says, good morning from Missouri. We've had Oregon. We've had Missouri. We've had Texas. I believe we had an Arkansas earlier. So everywhere out there, if you're new to the program, some of you new folks need to check in and don't be just lurking in the shadows like a bunch of stalkers out there. That's kind of creepy. You're like the weird person sitting on the playground staring at the small children and not identifying yourself. So please don't do that. If you would identify yourself, we'd love to get to know you. We're all family here. We all get along so happily and exchange Christmas presents one with another. All right, great guest coming up today. Jay Ratliff will be on the program. That is did somebody just put nice green shirt? My friend, this is as blue as I've ever had. This shirt is as blue as I ever know to have. I'm going to hold my red mug up here that says River's Promise on it. This is blue. I promise you. I may be colorblind, but this is now you're making me question. No, it's a blue shirt. We haven't heard about the shirts in a long time. And today we hear about the shirts. Smarter archery is going on out there trying to distract me. But I am a paid, well, kind of paid professional here. And we navigate right on through there. So anyway, wherever you're at, just check in with us. Let us know how you are watching, where you're watching the show from. We love to have you here. Somebody says it sure looks green. Well, it's not my problem. Get a better computer. I don't know what to tell you. My shirt is blue. It is as blue. This is a black pen against my blue shirt. It may just be you people are trying to distract me with my shirt. If you're new to the program, there's a long-standing question about why I only wear blue shirts. And then every once in a while, the people out there in the green room, or the peanut gallery, I should say, they get really mixed up and confused, and they start just mouthing off about different shirt colors. So it's weird. Lisa says, yes, it looks green. She's in the windy border of Colorado and Wyoming. Rich says windy. Aurora says hi. Stacy says it looks green. It sure looks green. Well, mind your own business. Am I judging your shirt colors right now? Am I saying, oh, you got a yellow shirt? I'm not doing that. Yeah, of course you're not on the camera, and there's probably a reason for that. I'm just saying. Probably a reason for that. All right, anybody watched the Trump speech last night? Donald John Trump stood up in front of the nation, and he made a speech. I was actually with producer Chad watching it, and I made one observation. I said, I think he had caffeine. and extra Diet Cokes. I don't know. He was high energy for Donald Trump. He's always a high energy guy, but that was rapid fire. I don't know if he had a certain time frame to fit all that in, or if he wanted to just. But he hit it. I thought it was a good speech. I actually watched it with producer Chad, but we had some other derelicts hanging out with us, and they were distracting me and turn up the TV, and then they'd talk and we'd turn it down, turn it up. Well, shut your pie hole and listen to the damn speech. They didn't do that. So I came back from where we were watching the speech and watched it again last night because it is my journalistic responsibility to make sure I'm fully embracing all that's happening out there in the news. And it was a good speech. It really was. It really counter-programmed the narrative of the media out there. We had one television on ABC, and we got a little bit of the postmortem from them. And Donald Trump was talking about the price of turkeys and Thanksgiving and how they had gone down by X number of percentage points. And the reporter rat came on, this little journalistic bimbo came on from ABC, and she says, well, he's talking about affordability, but the price of sirloin has gone up. As if she went through the line items of everything at the grocery store. Well, sir, sirloin's gone up, sir. You can brag about your turkey all you want, but the price of sirloin. Did anybody ever ask Joe Biden, who had like a 9% consumer price index inflation rate, 9%, we're down to like 2 or 3%, I think today with the announcement. Did anybody ever ask Joe Biden about the price of sirloin? Did anybody even ask Joe Biden about the price of Hunter Biden's cocaine? I mean, it really was unreasonable, this little bimbo. And I guess I'm using that in a very derogatory manner. This little reporter that thinks she's so purty, but she's not an intellectual. She just happens to look good in makeup. So they hired it at ABC, and she's doing the postmortem. And her counter argument, and if you watch it back to back, her counter argument was he bragged about the price of turkey, but the price of sirloin has gone up. Well, so is the price of Wagyu, but it doesn't mean we have an international inflation crisis. I'm just letting you know that. And if you watched the speech last night, I would love to have you comment on that. Okay, we're back to the shirts. I'm looking at the window, the chat room. Stacy says, I'm going to pay the producer to take all the blue shirts out of your wardrobe. At that point, I'm pretty much naked. I'm telling you, there's a story behind the blue shirts. I always get the blue shirts, and thank you very much. Now, I'll tell you this about blue shirts. It's because every time when my son was still at home in high school, I'd go to the store. We're usually buying him stuff, and I said, I'd buy this shirt. I like that shirt. And he would say, you're not wearing that shirt, Dad. You got to get this shirt. He'd always pick the blue one. I don't want the red one. You can't have the red one. So he always put blue or black, and that became kind of the color. So most everything I have is blue or black. Not everything. Of course, I've shown up here occasionally, and I'll surprise you with a red shirt or a green shirt. This is not a green shirt. And it makes everybody go crazy. I never knew my wardrobe would be part of a discussion after years of talk radio where no one saw my wardrobe, which is a good thing because sometimes you never know what's on under the broadcast. That's all I can tell you. Anyway, so the blue shirts, when I was filming the television show where we did the one season of Frontier Taste and Tales, I showed up with my wardrobe that had been hand and collected, and it was a lot of wonderful blue and grays and blacks and wonderful shirts that were going to be worn on the show for the filming of the television show Frontier Taste and Tales. And when I wore those shirts, the producer and executive producer were mumbling behind my back, chit-chatting and saying something, and I knew they were talking about me. And now I'm the host of the show, so I'm supposed to give the utmost respect. So they came to me very humbly and nicely and said, you ain't wearing those shirts. We're going to get you some. Now, Frontier Taste and Tales, if you knew the concept of the show, we would go to usually small remote towns, and we'd film would film in the diners or the restaurants or the hotels, so would film there to tell the stories of the frontier. And so there wasn't like a wardrobe shop. We weren't at Central Casting in Hollywood where we could present something with a wardrobe. I mean, there wasn't like a Joseph A. Bank that could sponsor that. There was nothing there. So these guys, if you know me, I can't stand Walmart. I just don't like it. I feel like I need a shower. I'm not too proud to go in there, but I just don't like. So they went to the small town Walmart and came out with a bunch of shirts for me and said, try these on. And then they went to the local Goodwill and picked up some shirts and said, try these on. And all of a sudden, I had all these shirts, and they said, your skin tone is better for the reds, and it's better for some of the yellows to come. So they had this whole thing about my skin tone, which I have great skin, by the way. Just need to shave a little bit, but I look good. So the skin tone, so I had to, it's a whole season. If you watch the season of Frontier Tastes and Tales, if you can still find it out there streaming somewhere, I looked like I was wearing a tablecloth from an Italian restaurant. That's how they dressed me. And I had all these shirts that cost hundreds of dollars in the wardrobe that were fantastic, and they were going to be great, but they wouldn't let me. There you have it. That's a story you probably didn't want to know. But Thursday, the 18th day of December, year of our Lord 2025. If you watched this Trump speech last night, love to get your take on that. One of the coolest things I thought was there. And, you call it buying votes, or you can call it whatever you want to. But men and women who serve in our country, and many of them put up with different presidents they don't like. Many people served faithfully and loyally under Donald Trump. Many people served faithfully and loyally under Joe Biden. And I'm sure there's people that didn't like the transition of power between the two. But they serve their country. They, when called upon, they're ready to do what they need to do to protect freedom and or to serve the military-industrial complex in the politicians are beholden to, but they do what they're asked to do. And President Trump announced last night, I thought it was really cool, a warrior dividend. And he said his staff and everybody just found out about 30 minutes before the speech. And it was $1,776, 1776, in honor of the birth date of our country and our Declaration of Independence, that everybody in the military, over millions of these checks are going to go out, or direct deposits, or however, the 1776 warrior dividend. So if you have a husband or a wife or a daughter or a son serving their country, they're going to get a little Christmas bonus here in the next couple of days. And I thought that was very cool. And again, I'm happy to hear that. That was one of the coolest things of the speech. We talked about this yesterday. We'll address it later in the show as we talked yesterday to Michael Letts and to Niels Gravilius. I know Michael talked about whether or not Dan Bongino was going to leave the FBI, and it was a possibility, and there was some consideration. Well, last night, Dan Bongino announced that he's leaving the FBI. So we were talking about it that very day. He's going to leave in January. He says a lot of it has been a very tough time on his wife, and he just wants to, it sounds like, get back home. You know what happens? You go up there to Washington, D.C., you think it's going to be a fantastic job, and Dan's like, why the heck did I leave the job I had? He was a very well-paid media type, unlike me, and he had doing well, and I'm sure he's frustrated with some of the stuff happening there. And I'm sure Dan will tell the story when he gets back onto the media. But Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI. It's also on a day in which there were several indictments that went down. And Michael Letts talked about this on the show yesterday, that accountability seems to be coming. We all think that accountability has been a little bit slow, but it looks like it's on the way. So we'll talk more about that here in just a bit. So the 1776 warrior dividend, love to get your take on that. Also, Dan Bongino leaving the FBI, love to get your take on that. And those of you, my brethren and sistren, who are Catholics, maybe you haven't heard that Cardinal Dolan has resigned his position, and a replacement has been announced. Timothy Dolan, again, a cardinal serving out of the New York area, and he's a well-known figure in a lot of media, conservative media especially, a regular guest on the Fox News. He has decided that it's time for him to step down, and a replacement has been announced as the new cardinal or archbishop. I think I'm not Catholic, so I'm going to get the names right. And it's a bishop from, I believe, Indiana, has been promoted. We'll talk about that here in just a bit as well. And what else is on the story? Oh, the House has passed a health care bill, and the bill does not include those Obamacare extensions. And I don't know why we call them Obamacare extensions. What they are is it does not include the payment that was being made to your insurance company to make your Obamacare more affordable. So that does not include those. So the House has passed a health care bill, and we'll talk about that here because it could lead to another government standoff between the House and the Senate coming up in January. So everybody stay very, very attuned to that. I want to bring in my first guest of the morning, if I may, and I also have a question of the day. The question of the day is this: who is the hardest person on your list to buy for? Is it your mother? Is it your father? Is it your children are easy. Buy the Legos and buy some Tonka trucks or a Barbie doll or a Cabbage Patch doll or get them a new bicycle or a new Xbox or a PlayStation. That's easy. When you have the kids, but you have people on your list that you're like, gosh, I don't know what I'm going to get. They have everything, or they want for nothing, or they're just difficult. Let me ask you, who's the hardest person on your list? And I'll get to the details of it in a second. But everybody comment in the chat rooms, whatever platform you're watching on. Who's the toughest person on your Christmas list to buy for? And as you do that, there's a survey out there that says any man in your life that is a boomer. That is a man that their parents came home from WW2 and decided to reproduce. Those are boomers. Okay, my parents were boomers. The offspring of the boomers were the Gen Xers. So if you're a Gen Xer, then your parents were boomers. Men that are boomers are supposedly the hardest to buy for, according to a survey. We'll dive into that here in just a moment. But who's the hardest person on your Christmas list to buy for? I would love to hear. Barbara says, my husband Randy is the toughest to buy for. This is what happens. The ladies always say it's my husband. And so what do we men get for Christmas? We get socks and underwear. It's like the replacement. It's like the refill. It's like, you buy the thing of soap, and instead of getting a new thing of soap, you buy the refill. Men are on the refill plan. Women don't know what to buy us, or they don't want to buy us anything. I don't know what it is, so they either get us some grill gear for Father's Day so we can cook them dinner, or we men get told you get new socks and underwear. It's not a bad thing. I mean, most guys about October, November are holding up their drawers going, yep, I hope Christmas is coming. These got holes in them, because we just wait on it. We're programmed now to wait on it. And who's the hardest person to buy for? Your husband, your wife, your children, your mother-in-law? Tell us why. Give us some examples if you want to, but love to hear it. Who's the hardest person on your Christmas list to buy for? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm running yap in my jaws, so I can't blame the delay of my guest or anybody except me. James Bradley, great friend of the program. He's written a book called Precious Freedom, a novel. Also the New York Times #1 best-selling author, Flags of Our Father, Fly Boys, The Imperial Cruise, The China Mirage. He lived in Vietnam for 10 years to research and write this 5th book called Precious Freedom, a novel of the Vietnam War. And he jumps in here to the conversation on this glorious day the Lord has made. Let's bring back in James Bradley. James, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hello, Jimmy. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Do you have somebody on your Christmas list, sir, that's really tough to buy for?
Me.
I'm the same way. Sometimes I just don't even know what's happening and what I'm going to buy myself. James, welcome back to the program. But first of all, remind us about the book. It's brand new. It's a great Christmas gift for people. Go ahead and tell us about it. We'll get into a couple of topics.
It's Precious Freedom. People know me from Flags of Our Fathers. Clint Eastwood and Steven Spielberg made the movie. I wrote the book. It was about my dad fighting with the Marines and raising the flag on Iwo Jima. And then a generation later, in 1967, my brother went off to Vietnam and his Marines lost. So as Oliver Stone says on the back of this book, Precious Freedom, if Americans knew what James Bradley reveals about what happened in 1969 in Vietnam, American mothers would not have sent their kids to Iraq and Vietnam and Afghanistan. I'm not talking about the whole war, how, at the end, 1975, with the helicopters taking off. I'm talking about how civilians, many of them girls, pushed the Marines out of a portion of Vietnam in 1969.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit more about that in a moment, because you said if they would have known what they didn't know, they wouldn't have sent their son. Give us kind of the thumbnail of that. What was that the American people, the mothers putting their kids on buses? You watched your brother get on a bus to go serve in Vietnam. What was it that they weren't being told by the government?
That America never won one day of that war. That we were being told, we're winning. That's why people are walking around today. How did we lose in Vietnam? We never won a whole day. At 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. every day, America retreated. The guys out in the field had to dig a hole and put barbed wire around, and the Vietnamese came out to fight at night. A Vietnamese guy said to me, you never, all those films you saw on Ken Burns and Walter Cronkite? I said, yeah. He said, you never saw me in any of those films. And I said, why not? And he said, because we didn't fight during the day. We fought at night. Ho Chi Minh said, don't fight during the day. The Americans have eyes in the sky. Fight at night. They knew, when I was a teenage kid running around my the backyards, I could run, catch one, catch all. Remember when the sun went down, you could run across neighbors' lawns full speed, and you knew where every fence and every hole was, and where the backyards and the alleys, and you knew all that. Well, the Vietnamese knew the terrain, and they were fighting at night. And then we were coming out in the day and falling in punji sticks that they put out at night. And America never won one day of that war. And as General Giap, who won the war, said, the Vietnamese general, he said, putting more Americans in will only mean more victims.
The voice of James Bradley, if you're listening later in the day, thousands of earballs will hear and or see this show. James Bradley, the author of a brand new book called Precious Freedom, a novel of the Vietnam War. He's also the author of the New York Times bestselling book, Flags of Our Fathers, and some other books. He's the son of Iwo Jima Corpsman Doc Bradley, raising that flag, that famous photo. James Bradley is our guest here. And again, the latest book is called Precious Freedom, a novel of the Vietnam War. Let's switch gears to get to a couple of current events here, sir. Recently, there were 3 Americans killed in an ISIS attack in Syria. Yesterday, President Trump went to receive and watch the bodies of the fallen come back home. And President Trump says he's going to retaliate, and there's going to be hell to pay and a lot of damage done there in Syria. Give me your take about this. I know you have a hyper sensibilities or sensory going, watch out, what are we getting involved in? And give me your thoughts on the vow for retaliation of these ISIS attacks in Syria.
Well, I would ask first, why are we in Syria? Americans aren't asking, give us an explanation clearly. Why are we in Syria? What is the bottom line? President Johnson in the 1960s could never explain why we're in Vietnam. And the name of this book is Precious Freedom. Why? Because Ho Chi Minh saw that it would be a moral case. Nations can't fight a war unless the guys know what they're fighting for. So, Jimmy, the American military has not won a war in 80 years. The last time we won a war was Okinawa in 1945. So what do you think our chances are now in Syria?
Yeah, it's fascinating. President Trump talks about how he hasn't started any conflicts and he's brought peace deals and peace resolutions everywhere. However, with the vow of retaliation in Syria, and we're taking some pretty aggressive actions in Venezuela, give me your thoughts on that. And these foreign entanglements are not necessarily military strikes as of this point, but they are foreign entanglements, and a little bit worried about the Venezuela action, sir?
Jimmy, every American president is seeking peace. Lyndon Johnson never said, I'm a warmonger and I'm going to kill and tens of thousands of Americans are going to die because I have Bell helicopter stock. No, Lyndon Johnson said, we are seeking peace, as he put 10,000 more troops in. We are seeking peace as he sent another aircraft carrier. Obama dropped more bombs in the Middle East than Bush did, and he got the Nobel Peace Prize. They're always seeking peace, Jimmy, because their kids are not going into war.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And, usually history airs some stories out and the truth gets told. But there's some stories about our military and these entanglements and not winning a war in 80 years that history has not, at least publicly. It's almost like the military industrial complex is writing the history books, because, you'll learn the truth about a president and his dalliances that maybe he had in the White House swimming pool or his affair. You'll learn certain things about history and it will measure out. But it seems like the history of war in this country in the modern era has not yet been told. You're one of the few talking about it from this angle. Who's writing the history books here, sir?
Well, like you said, the what if you call it the military industrial complex, the elite. So people might say, oh yeah, this is Bradley with 2020 vision, hindsight. No, 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 no. What shocked me in the research of this book is that there was a US Marine telling America in 1967 that there's no way America could win. There's no way the Marines could beat the Vietnamese. Who was that Marine? He was the commandant of the Marine Corps. His name was David Shoup. He won a Medal of Honor in World War II out on the island of Tarawa. And when LBJ went into Vietnam, David Shoup took his uniform off and gave speeches all across the United States, wrote articles. There's no way we can win. Ho Chi Minh's the George Washington. But did you hear about that in the 1960s? I didn't, because his voice was suppressed. If he had stayed as commandant and said, let's go fight, 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 we would all know who David Shoup is. But because he said the truth about the Vietnam War and he was the commandant of the United States Marine Corps, his voice was suppressed.
Roger jumps in on the Facebook pages. He says, this is what I want to know. Why are we there? I have a friend doing rotations in Syria. James, why do you think we are there in Syria? What's the, is anything come to mind?
That's not my job to explain some screwball things. It's a job of the American public to ask their leaders, hey, we just had some kids come back dead. What did they die for? And why are we what are we doing in Syria? What are we doing in these different nations in Africa? What exactly are we doing with 1,000 bases around the world? How many bases do we have? How come the media is not, much of the military budget, it's not being spent in the United States. It's all around the world at these bases. How come Americans can't see this on the media? It's our money, Mr. Leader, Mr. President. Please explain it to me.
Yeah. Let me ask you, because some people hear this and they say, oh, you can't be an isolationist. And I know we can't be the policeman of the world. Where, after your research, is the balance between isolation and hiding out and pretending nothing's happening versus becoming the policeman of the world, which we have been for way too long? Do you have an idea of where that balance becomes, sir?
It's not being isolationist. 1,000 bases around the world. War every day since 1945, 3 million dead in Vietnam, 20 years of war in Afghanistan. It's not isolationist or drop bombs on civilians and drop napalm and have an empire around the world. That's a false choice. Where did Eisenhower and Patton spend most of their career? In the United States, watching the Mexican border. Let's bring the boys back home, build up Chicago, build up our country. Our strength is our financial strength, is our economy. And this $1,700 going to the soldiers, that's great, Jimmy, if we didn't have to borrow 2/3 of it from China.
Yeah, that's true. I thought of the same thing last night. I said, I love it. We're going to give those guys and girls money. And then I'm like, we don't have any money to give them. We don't
have any money to give them. So Americans are being told your economy is going great. Well, then how come we're borrowing $2 trillion since Trump has been in? If I said to you, I'm a rich guy and I'm doing real well, but I was at the bank borrowing money every single day, you wouldn't believe me that I'm doing well, even if I showed you my Rolex watch. Well, Americans, it's time to wake up. You just went $2 trillion in debt in the last 2 years, and you're not asking your leaders, why are we doing this and where's the money going?
Yeah. It's so true. James Bradley, my guest, we talk about his latest book. James, over your right shoulder, it's we look at the screen, it's on the left side of your face there, but it's over your right shoulder. There's the cover of your book, but there's also a photo. And I don't think we explain. I think the first time you were on, we talked about who that photo of, but you have that photo up there for a very good reason. People have a bigger screen, they can see it. What's the photo on the back wall? I know it ties into the book, sir.
Well, no, it doesn't. We never did talk about it, and you're the first to ask me about it. This is Ralph Ignatowski, who was tortured on the island of Iwo Jima for 3 days underground. He was my dad's best friend. And in the movie Flags of Our Fathers, you see my dad, Iggy, Iggy. Iggy had disappeared from a foxhole. And what the Americans didn't know is there were 20,000 Japanese underground. And they pulled Iggy down and tortured him for 3 days. My dad was the corpsman, and he was the guy to find Iggy's body. Now, nobody knew this until I researched it. They didn't know, the Marines would not admit, and they lied to me about Iggy's death. Iggy was tortured to death on Iwo Jima, my dad's best friend, Ralph Ignatowski.
Wow. And the research that you do for Flags of Our Father, you learn these stories that no one else knows, and the latest book as well. Talk about, you're a great writer, so you could just write a book, but you have decided on all these books that you're going to do an immense amount of research. What was it that caused you to say, I'm not just going to write a book, I'm going to 10 years in Vietnam, I'm going to really get a grasp on what's happening here. I mean, that's pretty big commitment. Not a lot of authors have that.
Well, a few things. First of all, I'm not a very good writer. That's why it takes me so long. No, but that's true. When you say I could just write a book, no, you need the material. And I went to Vietnam. I wanted to get this puppy done in 3 years. I'll just research, what happened in Vietnam. But the problem here, Jimmy, is that if you read the 300 books printed in America about Vietnam, they don't tell you how the Vietnamese won. We have not humbled ourselves to the winner. I caddied for Vince Lombardi. When we lost a game, we figured out how they won. We didn't study how we lost. We studied how they won. And nobody has studied how the Vietnamese won that war. The American narrative is, we could have won if only the press hadn't stabbed us in the back, and if only the politicians had let us win. No. That's the surprising thing that Oliver Stone is talking about in this book, Precious Freedom, that the Vietnamese had a plan. And if Walter Cronkite had showed us the truth back in 1967, 1968, we would have shut that war down, but we weren't allowed to know the truth.
It's amazing to me. Vietnam was I was a wee tyke in those days and don't remember it. Wasn't even born for most of it, but I do look back on the history just recently, the 20 plus years in Afghanistan and Iraq, and kind of like you have to say, why are we in Syria? There were a lot of people asking that about why are we in Afghanistan so long? Why are we there? What are we doing there? And if you questioned it too much, you were kind of told you were not patriotic. If you questioned it too much, you got the stink eye from people. We have to start asking a lot more questions about our leaders. We've got to get better at this. Oh, James has he might have frozen up there. James, your connection has gone a little wobbly there. Mid-sentence he's cut out there. Let's see. That's James Bradley. James, I think I have you back now. You disappeared for a second. Go ahead.
I was, one of the answers to why we're in these countries, when General Westmoreland lost in Vietnam, he was promoted. When General Petraeus lost in Iraq and Afghanistan, he was promoted, and he's working for KKR in New York, making millions of dollars. I know the generals and admirals who failed in Afghanistan and Iraq. They're all on living on golf courses, leading wonderful lives. Why are we promoting those who lose? Yeah. If we held them accountable, maybe in World War II, man, you were a general, you got fired. In Iwo Jima, they were firing generals and colonels. You make progress tomorrow or you're out of there, And then after World War II, it didn't matter if you won or not. And now we've had this military that hasn't won in 80 years. But the source of the problem I expose in this book, Precious Freedom. And I ask every veteran to read it to see how the Vietnamese won.
The name of the book is called Precious Freedom. It's a novel author, James Bradley. You might have read some of his other works, Flags of Our Father, Flyboys, The Imperial Cruise, and The China Mirage. But this is the latest. It's called Precious Freedom, a novel. Maybe something you want to get on your doorstep via Amazon tomorrow so that you have something to read during the Christmas and holiday downtime you may have. Maybe you want to give it as a great gift to someone who's a veteran in your life. It's James Bradley. The name of the book is called Precious Freedom, a novel of the Vietnam War. And my friends, I promise you, you will learn things about the Vietnam War that you were not taught in school. And he lived there 10 years to research this. James Bradley, it's a pleasure, sir. Thanks for hopping back on the program. I appreciate you.
Happy holidays, Jimmy.
You as well, sir. Thanks again. We'll talk soon. James Bradley, Precious Freedom is the name of the book, and it's a novel of the Vietnam War. And if you're a history buff, you want to learn more about history, maybe you just like war stories, whatever the case may be, this fits a lot of the boxes and checks a lot of the boxes. Precious Freedom, a novel of the Vietnam War by New York Times bestselling author James Bradley. An honor to have him on the program today. All right, can I switch gears for just a second? Right as the show ended yesterday, I got a message that I did not see until after the show ended. It came in right as I was wrapping up. And I've been talking about your support of Rivers Promise and the charity work we're doing, and we're looking for a handful of more people. Some of you got an email about this yesterday to give a one-time year-end gift today of $1,950. That's for our charity work in Rwanda Legacy Christian Academy. That amount is what it costs to fund a classroom for 1 month. All the kids get taken care of. It handles that all the children in that classroom for $1,950. So we've asked a handful of you to make that one-time donation at the end of the year. We want a total of 15 people that will do that, and that's going to give us just a lot of breathing room in what is the biggest part of the stress that I carry is making sure we keep this thing funded every month and every week. So if you could do that, we'd love to have you. Now, yesterday at the end of the show, I got a message from our good friend Sherry Cree, and right now during this program and for the next little bit, she will match the next $500 that come in. So if you give $100 right now, Sherry will give $100. If you give $10, she'll give $10. Of course, Sherry's a great realtor, a great friend of the program. I talk about her in every show. But right now we have $500 of matching funds on the table to help us build and fund our school in Rwanda. This is the amount of 30. There's 30 kids in a classroom. It's $65 a month to feed and educate and health insurance and all the things we provide for these children. And Sherry Cree is matching donations right now of up to $500 to help us in this Christmas holiday season at Legacy Christian Academy in Rwanda. I don't think the military needs to be all over the place, but we sometimes can be there as humans, and that's what I do in Rwanda for the last decade or so, is take care of kids there. Check out the website. You can donate there, riverspromise.org. If you donate $5 right now, that $5 becomes $10 because of Sherry Cree. If you donate $100 right now, that becomes $200. And if you donate the $500, boom, your $500 now becomes $1,000 because of Sherry Cree. Great. If you want to learn more about Sherry, we'll talk about it later in the program, homeswithsherry.com. But right now, matching gifts for $500. Again, if you can give more than $500, if you can only give $5, man, we appreciate that. We do not despise small gifts. The money you give is literally today. I will be sending this money over to Rwanda. So $500 matching donations on the table right now. And you want to participate, double the fun and double your impact. $500 on the table for Rivers Promise. And again, it's for Legacy Christian Academy, our school in Rwanda. And if you want to learn more about the organization, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. And if you can help us with that other ask that we put out the emails of the newsletter yesterday, we're looking for about 15 people to do a one-time gift of $1,950, funding an entire classroom for an entire month at our school in Rwanda. All right, Sherry Cree. Thank you, Sherry. We appreciate you. We'll talk more about her a little bit later on the program, one of our great sponsors, but she's offering $500 matching funds for your charitable donation right now on the website. On the screen, you'll see it. Thousands of earballs will hear this show, see this show throughout the course of the day. Thousands of folks listen to the podcast version. A lot of folks also will watch the streams live and will go back and replay it. And everywhere you're at, that $500 matching fund is on the table for our charity, riverspromise.org. Make sure you do that. Very good. I got a message yesterday that my clear glasses that I've been wearing, they're quite sexy. Thank you, and you're welcome. And so today I wore the black pair. And I know it's ladies, please avert thine eyes. I don't want you stumbling in your walk with the Lord out there. So ladies, if you need to turn off the screen, I don't blame you. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I stumble in my walk with the Lord. I'm telling you, it's a sight to behold, isn't it? I'm sorry. I just can't help it. God gave me all this, and I ain't afraid to flaunt it. Yeah, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in our next guest of the morning, Drew Thomas Allen. I just call him Drew. And he's written a great book, and I want you to get a copy of this. You're going to want to get a copy of this. If you've been following the Eric Kirk and Candace Owens saga, this interview you're going to want to really pay attention to, but I'll talk about Drew's book here in just a moment. Drew Allen, welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Hey, Jamie, this is a long time in the works, my friend. It's so good to be with you finally. I've been looking forward to this.
I appreciate you hopping on here. For folks who don't know, you VP of one of the companies that help us procure a lot of our guests there. So you and I chat offline quite a bit, but you've written a fantastic book. First of all, let's start with the book plug. And it's about the martyrdom of Charlie Kirk, and it's a great read for the holiday season. Go ahead, sir.
Well, yeah, look, I just think that like millions of people out there, after Charlie was assassinated, it just gutted me. I was really devastated by his murder and his death. And I hadn't felt that way about anybody else's death in my life. So I'm sitting there wondering, what, I mean, I knew I could kind of figure out why I was crying. I mean, it hit too close to home. I was picking up my 2.5-year-old daughter from school when I got the news that he was dead. And it was this juxtaposition of, well, here's my beautiful girl screaming with joy that she's seeing her dad pick her up from school. And there's another little girl in this world, Charlie's little girl and son, who will never have that experience again. And then I and that's how it started. I was wrestling with those feelings. And then I was angry because this was almost predictable, because the left in this country has created the climate in which that was possible, if not inevitable. The dehumanization, the hatred, the rage, that's what happened. And so, Charlie's legacy, I mean, he spoke very clearly about all of these things, about the spiritual decay and rot in this country. And I wanted to articulate why this happened. I don't want this to happen anymore, Jimmy. I don't want this to happen in this country. I have young girls, two young kids. And what I saw in the aftermath of Charlie's assassination was there was a fragile window that we should have been having very important conversations in this country about the left's ideology, about the trans movement, about this violence that's being perpetrated in this country that's not dissimilar to jihadists, but the radical leftists are doing it in the name of progress instead of, Islam. And so we need a reckoning. And so I wrote this book not only because we need to have a reckoning and have these conversations, but also because if you're a Christian out there, which I am, we have a duty and an obligation. And we need to, Charlie's race is finished, but ours is just beginning. And so this isn't a biography about Charlie Kirk. Obviously, it is a book that offers a personal admiration of him. But more importantly, it talks about how we got here, why we got here.
Yeah. The voice you're hearing, if you're listening later in the day, as thousands of folks will do, is Drew Thomas Allen, author of a new book called For Christ and Country, The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. And you can pick that up, and we'll talk about more about that, but Amazon, all the places have it. We've oftentimes grow up and we think politics is red versus blue, Democrat versus Republican, and a pesky libertarian may mess up an election result somewhere. But I think a lot of us maybe are waking up in recent years that what the Bible says is true. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Our battle's not against flesh and blood, but there's something happening in the spiritual realm, and a lot of that has manifest with some of the ideology that's on the American left. Is that maybe one of the, I guess, the fruits of the death of Charlie Kirk? Is that some people wake up and realize this is not just Democrat versus Republican. This is a battle in the unseen realm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a battle. It's a spiritual battle for sure, a spiritual war. And it's really, you're right. I mean, it's not necessarily right versus left anymore. It's kind of like God-fearing versus godless, or those that hate God or reject God and despise God. The left is at war with Christianity. And one of the things that Charlie always articulated, very well, was that, this is a Christian nation. And that doesn't mean you have to be a Christian to live here, but, you can appreciate what you are the beneficiary of with regards to the Christian founding of this country, even if you're not a Christian. And the left, of course, is leading young people on the pathway to hell. I mean, they're promising utopia, Jimmy, and they're sending them into darkness, and they get frustrated and angry because it's a false path. And Charlie was one of the few people, Jimmy. And look, I mean, a lot of hosts out there, even, conservative, like-minded hosts, they get uncomfortable talking about, faith and Christianity and so on and so forth. And, we shouldn't be. And, I will say this, because, I mean, maybe someone in your audience can relate to this too. Like, what I saw in Charlie was, this was a man who really, he wasn't always that Charlie, right? He had a hunger for truth. He didn't go to college, and he wore that like proudly on his sleeve, and he was smart. I mean, think about this, Jimmy. He had the balls to go into college campuses and not only debate students and tell them why college was a scam, but to talk to professors at these universities and also tell them, this place is a joke and I'm smarter than you. Let's debate. Let's put our ideas out there. But I was transformed in his death because, I still had residual fear. I mean, none of us like to be attacked. I mean, that's not our go-to nature. And I'm not tepid. I've written books. I've been out there. I have a podcast too. But Charlie walked into hostile environments, and he relished it. Like, he enjoyed it. He wanted to do that. And that, why have I not been like that? I don't know. Why are many of us not like that? Because he had true conviction and he studied. And so all he needed was the truth, and it gave him this confidence. But I've vowed to become a better Christian, a better father, a better husband since Charlie died, and to just better myself every day.
I think it's clear, and it's that you make in the book. The name of the book, by the way, For Christ and Country: The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk, by Drew Thomas Allen. Look it up on the Amazon. But you make it clear, and I think it is clear that we need to make sure that people understand this wasn't a bullet that took out Charlie Kirk. You make the argument in the book that this wasn't a single bullet that just happened to happen that day in Utah. This was years of hatred, slander, moral corruption. The assassination was inevitable. You demonize President Trump long enough and call him a Nazi. Somebody's going to take a pot shot at his head. Is it too far? The left and the left ideology is the very thing that led up and killed Charlie Kirk.
Yes, we need to be bold about saying these things. A lot of people get into this, well, we don't want to be like we're not like the left. There's truth and there's falsehood. So when the left says that Donald Trump is a fascist or a communist, or, I don't call him a communist, I guess, that's them, but they're also fascists, but they'll call him a fascist or a Nazi or Hitler or Mussolini or Stalin or whatever else. And there's some people who don't want to then rightly call out the left for what they are. I mean, I compare 9/10 to 9/11, say 9/10 is the new 9/11 in the book. And that's not to diminish 9/11, Jimmy. But there were people, these are two terrorist attacks 25 years apart. And there are people alive today, obviously younger, that weren't alive on 9/11. And so just like 9/11 shattered this illusion that, these oceans and geography could protect us and insulate us from these threats abroad, 9/10, when Charlie was assassinated, woke up a lot of people to the fact that you can't be a conservative truth teller in America and live a public life and not fear for being gunned down. And here's the main thing, Jimmy. After 9/11, I'm sure you remember this, more shocking than the towers falling was the jubilation in the streets across the Middle East of Muslims celebrating the pain. And we saw that same thing on display from the left in this country after Charlie Kirk's assassination, celebrating his death, mocking his death, a husband, a father, a Christian. And it was so indecent. And that's happening here in this country. And we better talk about it. We better condemn it. And there's no accountability from the left for their rhetoric. Their rhetoric is getting people killed.
Let me ask you this: everything you are talking about, the book talks about, is kind of what we all felt leading up to that memorial service of Charlie, the powerful image of President Trump. Marco Rubio preached a gospel sermon, probably rivaling Billy Graham. I mean, it was an amazing day of worship and sermons, and just remembering Charlie Kirk. But a lot of that memory has been, I would say, not sullied, but distracted, because Candace Owens has decided to spend the last several weeks floating theories about who murdered Charlie and that we don't know the truth, and floating theory. It seems like every day, if not every week, but maybe every day, she's putting out a new group of people that were involved in some grand conspiracy to assassinate Charlie Kirk. Finally, I guess Erica Kirk and her got together and had a little soiree this week because Erica asked her to stop this nonsense. Has Candace Owens been a distraction to the legacy of Charlie Kirk and what we should be? I live like Charlie, and Candace has distracted us.
It's not just a distraction. She's actively trying to destroy and burn the legacy to the ground. She's made this whole assassination, this whole event about her. And that's what's so disgusting to me. The meeting with Erica that never should have happened, shouldn't have happened to begin with. Candace, this doesn't concern Candace Owens. She was a friend at one point of Charlie Kirk's, and she was excommunicated from the TPUSA people a long time ago for the very reasons that you can all see on display today. This is who Candace Owens is. They knew it. Charlie Kirk and company don't want to be associated with someone that's that demonic. And, you know, for the people out there that follow Candace Owens, I mean, shame on you, because you're no better than somebody that follows the left that's lied to you about the lab leak theory of COVID, that lied to you about the freest and fairest election ever in 2020, that lied to you about all the COVID stuff. Well, I mean, they lie and lie and lie, and you keep coming back to them. That's Candace. I mean, you know, she's introduced 16 different theories and never produced any evidence, and she's been proven wrong time and time again. But anyway, this book doesn't even focus on her. It's a waste of time to even focus on her. This is a book about reorienting, grounding the movement again, refocusing Charlie's legacy on what mattered. Charlie Kirk was focused on one thing, and that is defeating the left. And that's what we need to do. All of this division, this infighting that's happening is so absurd. I mean, we need to be united front. And my call is specifically to Christians, because we're not going to fight and save this country through politics. It's going to be through a spiritual revival, okay? Because there are 200 million plus Christians in this country, Jimmy. And if we all actually lived our lives like we're called to live our lives, because, you know, there's this thing called the Bible. It has an Old Testament and a New Testament, and it says the same thing. If we actually abided by that, if we were Bible-based Christians that actually spent time reflecting in his word and living Christian lives, you know, we'd be an unstoppable force. But instead, you've got, you know, all of this distraction out there, of course. So anyway, I'm done with the distraction. We have a very fragile window right now to continue to right this ship. You know, we're a year into Trump's administration, his second presidency here. Midterms are coming up. You've got Candace Owens, you know, trying to say that, you know, I mean, she's basically trying to sabotage midterms even. If we lose the House, you know, there's going to be an impeachment of Donald Trump, and it's going to be 2016 all over again. So this is fragile. And he held that coalition together. I'm not Charlie Kirk. I'm never going to be Charlie Kirk. There's one Charlie Kirk. And he was amazing, and we lost him. And my God, do millions of people miss him? But the charge now is for all of us to become, you know, our best version of ourselves. Yep. And that's what Charlie became.
The name of the book by Drew Thomas Allen is For Christ and Country, The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. The phrase martyr biblically brings a lot of history to it. A lot of big names have been called martyrs. But people that are Catholics would call them saints, many of them. I mean, that's a big title, and it's a horrible title, but it's also an honor for someone to wear it. Talk about the fact that Charlie Kirk should be and is remembered as a martyr for Christ and country. That's an accolade I'm guessing he probably never wanted, but he didn't shy away from it. I mean, that word martyrdom in your title fascinates me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, a martyr as a textbook definition, you know, and then we'll move on from it because textbook definitions are kind of lame. But the textbook definition is simply somebody who's killed for their beliefs. It doesn't even have to be religious. But we associate martyrdom, of course, as Christians with Stephen, the first martyr who was stoned to death, with the Apostle Paul, with Peter, with many, many, many Christians throughout history. And what's interesting about martyrdom is not just the manner in which they're killed. It's the effect it has on that faith, that belief they have, how it spreads like wildfire after their death. And that's true of the martyrdom of Stephen, of Paul, of Peter, et cetera. And they're more in modern history, but absolutely 100% Charlie Kirk fits that mold. He lived his life with his faith on his sleeve. He made no bones about professing that his belief system came from his Christian faith, and he became bolder and bolder and bolder. And as a matter of fact, Charlie Kirk really did make his faith the number one priority in his life. That's why he sought out all these. That's why you had the memorial service like you did. You've never seen something like it. Was a worship service, effectively.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to the fact that Charlie Kirk was a profound Christian voice in this nation. And what was the impact of his death? He's bigger in death than he was when he was alive. The same is true of the Apostle Paul. The same is true of Stephen the martyr. We remember these people because they fuel this movement forward. Their death doesn't make people fear even loss of their life. It emboldens people. And I am a personal, a living flesh example of that. I have absolutely been changed because of it. And I have been I've been a Christian my whole life, Jimmy, but I've been, you kind of become an autopilot Christian, I believe, that's not enough. I mean, can you sit down in a bar if some atheist came up to you? This is a hypothetical question, not just you specifically, Jimmy, but if you're a Christian out there, can you go sit down at a bar or somewhere, coffee shop, whatever? And if some atheist comes up to you, a non-believer, and they want to be converted, they want to hear about Christ, can you do it? Do you have enough knowledge of the Bible, of these things, to even begin to help this person on their journey? And if you don't, you're not doing a very good job as a Christian. And the point is, Jimmy, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I am devoted absolutely to having those scriptures written on my heart and having these arguments. The same rigor I apply to politics in my life, I need to double on my faith.
Yeah. Drew Thomas Allen, the name of your book's right there on the screen, For Christ and Country, The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. Drew, where can folks get the book? I'm guessing Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And if they want to follow you, I know you've written some other books as well. Where do they go?
Yeah, Amazon's the best place. I've got an author page on there too. You can get it at Target online, Barnes & Noble online. It's all online right now. And then, if you're on X, I'm at Drew Thomas Allen. And I got a Substack, drewallen.substack.com. But I hope this book resonates with Christians out there. And it's an uplifting book, by the way, Jimmy. It's not just a downer. It's a call to action.
Drew Thomas Allen, I appreciate you hopping on, sir. It's good to talk to you, sir. We always get an email back and forth, but today, face to face, it's always a pleasure, sir. Thanks for hopping on.
God bless you, brother.
God bless you, friend. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you. We say Merry Christmas around here. And also happy holidays. Drew Thomas Allen, great book. You want to get a copy of that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, right on cue, we go to Jay Ratliff, our aviation and travel expert on this glorious day the Lord has made. Let me remind you, Sherry Cree, one of our great sponsors, has put up $500 of matching funds and for our Rivers Promise drive today. So you give $10, she gives $10, she'll give up to $500. Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com is her website. Matching donations up to $500. I checked a moment ago, and you know who the first donation that came in on that was? It was James Bradley. James Bradley was, I saw him lingering in the green room. James Bradley said, I'll give $50. A guest on the show popped right on $50. Thank you, James. If you're still watching out there, we appreciate it. Again, his great book, the New York Times bestseller, he just pitched in $50. So Sherry's out $50. You just cost Sherry Cree $50. She's going to give up to $500 during the program today. All right, let's go to Jay Ratliff, aviation and travel expert. Good morning, Jay Ratliff. How are you?
Doing well. Glad I caught part of Drew's interview with you. That was very nice. I'm going to check out his book. I think that's a great topic. You guys could have kept going. I wouldn't have minded at all.
Yeah, I told Drew to stop in early. He did. And I'll get Drew back on. He's a great guy, and it's so weird to meet people. We've met many times before, but we're always talking business on other stuff, and now we're talking. He's the interviewer, rather. It's just bizarre, just sometimes strange, out of context. Jay Ratliff,
Jimmy, the great thing about that is you guys can continue that conversation 100 years from now.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. It's I've only got excerpts of the book. I haven't ordered it, but it's really well written and well done, and it's changed Drew's life, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So I've got to get the full copy of it. Jay, let's dive into this. You sent me a quote, and I don't have it right here in front of me, that one of the leaders of Southwest Airlines is saying, Hey, knock off all the meetings. Are they going to have less meetings at Southwest Airlines? Update us on this story. I think it's fascinating.
Well, Bob Jordan is the CEO of Southwest Airlines. He looked around after he assumed command and said, you know what? A lot of my leadership team is busy having meetings, and they're equating meetings with leadership. And he says, I equate it with busy work that really doesn't accomplish what we want to do. So he said, meetings are a waste of time, or can be. He said, stop the one-on-one meetings, get out there, meet with the customers, be on the job, look around, do what you do. Because far too often, and look, you and I have been a part of corporate America a lot.
Yeah.
And we've seen how it operates, where some people, for the sake of perception, for some, just the feeling that I'm accomplishing something, will have a day full of meetings. And the end of the day is thinking, well, that was a productive day because I was able to meet with, 8 different people. Bob Jordan and others, the leadership team at Southwest, are saying reevaluate that, because the idea of just having meetings as we try to turn Southwest around into a better airline, more customer focused, we need to cut these meetings out. And it's not only Southwest, we're seeing this at other companies around the country, and I love seeing it. I know that my last post at Northwest Airlines, goodness, this goes back 25 years ago. The gentleman that was my supervisor, every Monday, which was the busiest day of the week for us, he demanded from all of his management team a 2-hour conference call, smack dab in the middle of Monday morning. And I'm thinking, what? I mean, we need to be out there working, not sitting around on a stupid conference call. And, sadly, that's how many managers, I think, who like to hear themselves speak, like doing. Just have meeting after meeting after meeting, and then consider that productive. I do not.
I know we have people at DIA who work for Southwest Airlines, walk around. They've told me their secret with us in their ears, and they're probably shouting right now, amen, as they're working at Southwest Airlines. Listen to this program. Let's stop all the meetings. Let's get to work.
Well, they're a great team. Remember, early on, when they only had, I think, 4 airplanes, Southwest, the only way they could make money was to turn those bad boys in 10 minutes. That's a 600-second turn. And those men and women found a way to do it. I'm telling you, when Southwest is on, there's nobody that can compete with them. They got to get back to that, and I'm sure they will.
You sent me another story that it fascinates me, because I've flown this route before. I've flown from Los Angeles to Australia, and a Qantas jumbo jet arrived in Los Angeles from Australia, which is normal. It happens every day. It's a daily flight back and forth. But this one was different because Jay, am I reading this right? Part of the wing of the airplane was missing?
It was. Fortunately, not a critical part, but yes. And this was not only an airplane, Jimmy, this was the A380. This is the double-decker aircraft, 4 engines, that if it was all coach configuration, you could seat 800 people on one airplane. I think that's tempting fate, but still, that's a lot of people. So when these things arrive, and I've been around them when they come into an airport, they just kind of glide in. They are massive airplanes, and everything stops. People see them coming in for landing. They see them taxiing. I mean, their mouths are open. I don't care how long you've been around aviation. This is a special time when one of these bad boys rolls in. So all eyes were on this Qantas flight coming in from LA. And one of the things is, during the pandemic, there wasn't really a demand for jumbo jets. So a lot of airlines, including Qantas, parked them, and they're slowly bringing them back into service. And that was this particular aircraft, the A380. They do all the maintenance checks. They make sure everything's okay. And, off back into service they go. This thing pulled us into the gate with everybody staring. And one of the flaps on top of the wing had been torn off, missing. And of course, that's kind of embarrassing, especially for an airline like Qantas, which is known as one of the safest airlines on the planet. So, fortunately, nobody was injured. Certainly caused a great bit of anxiety from people who spotted it. And anybody that's watched Rain Man remembers from Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman, it's the safest airline going. Not my favorite Qantas story. You have to go back several years when they had a captain that it was discovered had been flying for 20 years that had a fake pilot's license. Yeah, you don't want to have that.
A fake pilot's license. My son just had to go to the DMV and get his new license because he turned 21 and his license is expiring. And, he can tell stories of his friends that have a fake ID, but that's just to buy a beer. We're talking a fake ID to fly a car.
Well, for a career, he's been flying for 20 years as a captain.
Wow.
But it's not as good as Pakistan International Airlines. Years ago, 1/3 of their pilot staff was found to have fraudulent identification as far as licenses. So
that's one that when it shows up on my travel agent list, I'm going somewhere Pakistani, and I'm not doing that.
TIA, just wave and let somebody else fly. It's not an airline you could, that and Aeroflot, you couldn't drag me onto it.
Yeah, it's Jay Ratliff is the voice you hear if you're listening. One of the thousands of folks listening later in the day on the Streamcast podcast and broadcast that we do. Jay Ratliff, aviation travel expert. Jay, we've talked about this for probably a year or so, even back in the old radio days. That Spirit Airlines holding on for dear life. I think they've even stopped flying out of Denver International Airport, my home airport. They tried to merge with Frontier, then JetBlue got involved. It's been kind of a cluster mess, but rumors persist that Spirit Airlines is about to go down the, as Archie Bunker said, down the old keister. Help us with this. Is Spirit Airlines going bye-bye?
I hope not. In fact, it was this past weekend, there were reports out that they weren't even going to make it until Monday, that they were as good as toast. And, of course, the leadership team for Spirit came out and said, look, we have money. I think they required $100 million in operating capital, keeping them rolling. And you're right. Years ago, when Spirit and Frontier were getting together, starting to talk about a merge, I was excited because when you overlaid the route map of Spirit and Frontier, they complemented each other so well. Very few overlapping cities. You'd have not many jobs that would be lost as a result of the merger, which is unusual when you have two airlines coming together. But then, JetBlue comes around, pushes them out, Frontier out of the way, and they offer more money. Unfortunately, those route maps did not complement each other. You had a great deal of overlap, a lot of jobs, a lot of cities would be impacted, and that's why the merger was not approved by the U.S. government. Well, now we're hearing rumors that Frontier and Spirit are talking again. And I love this, and I hope it really comes forward because, one, I want Spirit to survive. I want them to thrive, and I think a combination with a proven carrier like Frontier, who knows how to do what they're doing, and Spirit does too, but the problem is they've been impacted by so many things. They had to park part of their fleet because the Pratt & Whitney engines on them were having issues, so they couldn't use them. And these are silver revenue tubes you're paying for that are going nowhere. And then, of course, some of the slowdowns that have happened. You had the pandemic a while back, and right now we're seeing a kind of a shortage of the demand for leisure travel, and that's impacting them quite a bit. But we don't want a low-cost carrier of any kind to go away, because the more low-cost carrier seats we have, the more it increases that competition. And it helps to keep those large legacy carriers, especially at Denver, in check. Those low-cost seats disappear, the average fare really starts to rise, and then we're kind of getting gouged. We don't like that, so we love the low-cost carriers. Hopefully, Spirit, Frontier, something can happen there. I would love to see that airline combine and emerge as a very, very strong low-cost carrier.
Very quickly, the latest survey, we talked about Air Pakistan a moment ago. I flew Air Chile one time. I don't know if they exist, but that was exciting as well. But the latest survey is out there of talking about the most reliable and the least reliable airports and airlines. Give us a summary of that. I'm guessing Air Pakistan's not probably one of the most reliable.
It is not. In fact, Delta Airlines they didn't take top honors. Republic Airlines took top honors. They're an American Airlines regional carrier. I think they have like 200 cities, maybe 6,000 employees. Coming in second at 85-point-something% in a on-time performance was Delta. Of course, Delta has like 1,000 airplanes, 100,000 employees, and they're like, Jay, there's no comparison between us and them. But those were the top of the on-time performance ratings, which was nice. And then you get into some of the airports that have high on-time performance. Bit of a surprise for me when you see airports when you have Detroit, Salt Lake, and others on there. I'm thinking the worst would have been Newark, but actually Orlando was one of the ones that
really,
kind of came in, and it makes sense. You have airplanes coming in from all over the place. Sometimes the weather can factor in there. The fact that Newark didn't make the bottom of the list, and I thought Philadelphia, shocked me, because those airports, especially Newark, battle weather so much that I thought for sure that they would not be. But, most people look at the airlines. They say, which airline is the one that is the most dependable? And from a completions factor and a on-time performance, Delta tends to run kind kind of run over everybody with regards to that, always being near it or at the top of those surveys. Delta is my carrier of choice. Their customer service is spotty. But, when we pack the planes, there's no incentive for Delta or any other airline to change how they treat us. They treat us like crap. We keep coming back, and sadly, that's the case.
Jay Ratliff, it's a busy travel season, obviously. Next week will be Christmas. We won't be together. The following week will be the last time, I guess, we chat this year. Jay, what's it like in this holiday season, even today, to move about the country?
Well, we've got a lot of rain. It's giving us issues. Houston earlier, that's getting better. Atlanta, Charlotte having some problems. Chicago, Detroit, it's just a lot of wind, limited visibility, impacting flights. And Jimmy, for those that are going to be flying over the holiday travel season, which officially kind of begins on Friday, goes through the 4th or 5th of January. If you've not flown for a while, go to tsa.gov. It's a great site. They will give you some of the changes that have been implemented at the checkpoint if you've not flown for a while. And I always have to remind people not to bring your fireworks. Some people want to take their fireworks to their destination. We call those explosives. We don't let them on the plane. So unless you're wanting to donate to a TSA officer your goodies, please leave the fireworks at home. Happens every single year at most every airport.
Good weather out of Colorado we've had, and a little windy yesterday, but no snow delays for us, at least yet. I'm sure they're
Let's
coming.
Take that for 2.5 more weeks, and we will be thrilled out of our mind for sure, brother.
Brother, have a great Christmas, a great New Year. We'll talk next year. I appreciate you coming on the program, all that you do for Rivers Promise, sir. I salute you. Thank you, my friend. God bless you. Merry Christmas.
Lots to be thankful for, my friend. You as well.
Thank you. Jay Ratliff, aviation and travel expert. We'll catch up after the holidays next Thursday, 1 week from today's Christmas Day. We will not be doing a show. 1 week after that is New Year's Day. We will not be doing a show. So Jay Ratliff, aviation and travel expert extraordinaire. All right, ladies and gentlemen, some of you have already donated, I understand, and others of you have been thinking about it. And some people say, I'll get to it. Today is the day to get to it. If you've not made that donation for a Christmas drive at Rivers Promise, we would love to have your help today. We have matching funds on the table from Sherry Cree, the great realtor extraordinaire and sponsor of this program. Sherry says $500 she will pull out of her pocket and match it. So I'll check the list here, but I know we have not spent Sherry's $500 yet. That last look, we have not done that. If you go to the website right now, riverspromise.org, she will match it. James Bradley, one of our previous guests, just gave $50. That's going to cost Sherry $50. You see how it works. You give $50, it becomes $100. You give $10, it becomes $20. You give $100, it becomes $200. If you gave that $500, it literally becomes $1,000 and so if you'd like to donate, please feel free to do that if you've been thinking about it. And the reason I'm saying it, we're going to be talking about it, obviously, end of year giving, and some of you still want to get a check in, but we're trying to get as much money today over to Rwanda because the kids will be getting out of school soon, and we want to make sure that all the kids get their Christmas gifts before they get out of school. And so if you could make that donation you've been putting off, if you could do it today, it's always welcome. We'll we'll figure it out, but if you could do it today, that's a big help to us. I want to put some urgency there because there's about to be a shipment of money go over there, a transfer of money to Rwanda. That's going to happen today. So any donation you give today, literally that donation will hit Rwanda probably in the next 10 to 12 hours. It will literally go to work immediately. So if you can make that donation today. Now, I know somebody say, I got to get to this date. That's fine. Get that tax deduction in, get that donation in by the end of the year. But if you can donate that money today, literally that money will be putting shoes on the feet of children and food in their bellies by this time tomorrow. That's how quickly this money is going to get over there. So if you can go to the website now, riverspromise.org, make that donation, matching funds from our great friend Sherry Cree. Homeswithsherry.com is her website, and she will give those matching funds up to $500. So do that right now if you've talked about it and contemplated it. Somebody asked how, I don't know, I just saw a flash on the screen. Somebody asked how you can get the red Rivers Promise coffee mug. These were donated at our golf tournament by our friend Corey Clinton. He's had a change of company, so I won't say the name of the former company, but if anybody remembers Corey Clinton, we talked about him on the show many times. And if you'd like one, you know what I do? I've got a handful of them still left. And every donation today, how about that? Every donation that comes in today, I will send you one of these Rivers Promise red coffee mugs. How about that? I could do that. We could do that. Every donation, if you give $1, I'll honor that. But it costs us a little bit of money. Out of that donation is going to be some shipping. So if you make it a good donation, $20, $10, $15, what would you pay for a coffee mug? And these are stainless steel. They're dishwasher safe, all that stuff. And they say Rivers Promise. These are red, and they were again donated. Everybody at our golf tournament got one of them this year. And Corey Clinton is a great fan of Rivers Promise. Been a great sponsor as well. So make those donations, and you know what? I think to keep it above let's say every donation 25. I'm making this up as I go. Tell me if I'm wrong, producer. I think every donation $25 and up. Sherry Cree will match it. But do a little bit more than that because we got to pay for the shipping to get these mugs out to you. All right. As long as I think we have plenty somewhere in the Delilah, go check the inventory of red mugs. We got to do that. Every donation, make it $25 or above, and the shipping on that could be a little pricey. So you do your best. You just be you, and we'll do what we do, and we'll send you all the donations today. Bright red mug. They're not for Christmas, but they look good for Christmas. Rivers Promise, Hope for Children, right there on it. And again, we'll for everybody that donates $25 or more today, we will ship you a red mug. If I run out of reds, I might have to send you a different color, but I think we have enough reds to go around. I think we do. Yeah, reds will go first. So the quicker you donate, the quicker you're gonna assure that red mug. Thank you for asking. That's a good idea. I've got mugs here somewhere. Delilah's checking on them. All right, I mentioned Sherry. Sherry, thanks so much for $500 of matching funds. If you do give today, Sherry's matching up to $500 of that. And I mentioned the urgency of today because we are literally today. I have to go and send the money that we have over. And this is the final batch of Christmas presents. This is the final batch of shoes. This is the final batch of everything that we do. The holiday party is going to be tomorrow. The Christmas party. This is, again, for a lot of these kids are kindergartners or little guys. This is the very first Christmas they've ever really celebrated. They've heard about Christmas. They've never had a Christmas party. They've never had a Christmas meal. They've never received a Christmas gift. Every year for a lot of these kids, the only gift they ever get is the shoes that we buy them. And, buy them a toy, buy them a truck. These kids need shoes. They need food, and that's what we give them. And so this time tomorrow, our kids will have had their Christmas party, and everybody that donates today, literally your money will be helping make sure that Christmas goes to all these kids. Again, this is when we started building our school. Let me pull up the photo here. I have it here. This is our school campus that we're launching phase. I got to reach for it. Phase 2. When we were building the, that's our primary school campus, K through kindergarten through sixth grade will be on this campus. This building here is already completed. And the other buildings are coming very, very soon. We got to raise the money for that. But when we first built that building, a lot of the kids had never seen a light turn on. We have electricity in our school. We still have children. we have a flushing toilet in this building here. A lot of the kids prefer to go over here where we have kind of an outside. It's a kind of a public toilet, and it's not a flusher. It's a hole. And but so it's a. There's no right. Anyway, they're afraid of that stuff. This is how remote this area is. And so tomorrow, when a lot of these kids, we were building this school, a lot of the kids would write their sponsors, say, you know what, we're going to have something called a Christmas dinner. They'd never heard of it because their parents were hired as day workers to come and help the construction of our school. We were the largest employment program in the entire region for a period of time when we built that. I mean, people were coming from miles, trades, skilled and not, to help us build that campus. And kids would write their sponsors for Rivers Promise and say, we're going to have meat on Christmas Day. It was a mind-blowing thing that they said, we're going to have meat. It's the first time all year. And for some of those kids, it was the first time they remember their parents providing meat for them. They have a staple diet of beans and rice and maybe some greens thrown in there because that's all they can afford if they can afford anything. And so some of those kids are like, my mom's never, we never had meat in our house, but because my mom got a job helping to build the school, we're going to have meat for Christmas. And so I'm just painting the picture that what you do today, if it's $10, if it's $100, if it's $1,000, maybe you can be one of those people that step up and give the $1,950. If you can do that today, that's the impact you're making. These are kids that have never had a Christmas gift until tomorrow. These are kids that did not know you celebrated Christmas with a party. They're going to have Santa hats on and all the fun we have with that, but they're also going to hear the Christmas story and realize and recognize why we're called Legacy Christian Academy. So again, go to the website today. You've heard me talk about it, riverspromise.org. These are kids that not only have never celebrated Christmas. Tomorrow, some of them will receive their first Christmas gift ever. It will be a pair of shoes. Tangible gift. They give the gift of education. I understand that, but a tangible gift. And if you would like to donate today, and that money literally will be on the ground in the next few hours. And so we get it done today if you can. And we'll take your donations later. Believe me, we'll get it over there. Jeff says, I was actually able to donate while listening. My wife says I need to practice more multitasking. Jeff, thank you. And Jeff, everybody who donates today, if we'll send you one of these red coffee mugs donated by Corey Clinton. I've got a handful of them, so we'll send some over. Delilah says we have plenty. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, donate today, riverspromise.org. Riverspromise.org. Sherry Cruz got matching funds on the table. Don't forget, if you do a transaction with Sherry, whether you're buying or selling a home in 2026, guess what? Sherry will always take a portion of her proceeds out of her pocket and donate it to the charity of your choice. She also, military veterans, enlisted, whatever the case may be, officers and gentlemen. She will also always discount her commission so that the dream of home ownership becomes easier for those in the military. She's a wonderful lady, and that I-25 corridor of Colorado, she's ready to help you. And if you're maybe off the beaten path in Colorado, maybe, by the way, she does have great knowledge of the mountains, the Aspen area, a second home if you'd like up there. She can help you there as well. But if there's an area in that I-25 corridor, maybe you're in Wyoming, but you say, I don't know anybody. She doesn't know it. She doesn't do that area, not comfortable. So she'll give you a free referral, and she knows people that can help you if she feels that there's someone else better. Homeswithsherry.com. Again, today's the day. This week is the week to have those conversations because come February, we're about 35, 45 days out. That if you want to get in the first buying window or selling window, I should say, of 2026, your time's coming up quick. February, March, man, it's going to hit. You think you're waiting to April or May, you could end up leaving thousands of dollars on the table if you wait too long. And she'll talk to you. She'll talk when the buying window happens, when the selling window is best to get the most bang for your buck. Go to the website, homeswithsherry.com. I know you're busy in the holiday season. Make a donation to Rivers Promise. Sherry's donating $500 matching funds today for the first $500 that come in today, right now. Go do it, riverspromise.org. But Sherry's also someone you want to talk about 2026 and your real estate dreams. Homeswithsherry.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have in the hand my globe, cheap little prop that came from a gift basket one day, and we use it on the show very prolifically. And by the way, this shirt is blue. I promise you it's blue. And here, you guys make me question my own clothing here sometimes. Ready? Delilah says it's blue, so, but Delilah's not even sober, so we don't even know. Let's do it. The stolen meme section of the show. We steal memes and play meme roulette. Let's do it. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Oh, there's a crazy liberal lady. Look at that screen. Look at it. Scary, isn't it? If you think liberals support free speech, try disagreeing with them. Yeah, they'll kill you. Just ask Charlie. Yeah. Yeah, they're not very nice people. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Dear liberals, stop worrying. Trump isn't going to jail LGBTQs. He's not going to make slavery legal or take women's rights away. Trump's not a Muslim. What are you thinking? True. Truth bombs happening on the program. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. I don't have an advent calendar, so I'm just opening cupboard doors and eating whatever's in there. I've got friends that have the advent calendar of cigars. That's kind of a cool idea. The advent calendar, it's fancy. Well, just open, just eat what's there. Round and around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. I still don't understand how the man who had never served in public office before being elected president is blamed for all of America's problems by people who have been in Congress since the 1970s? That is a fantastic question, isn't it? How do you end up being, how's he to blame for all this stuff? Makes no sense, does it? Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Look at that face when it's time to wrap Christmas presents and you can't remember where you hid them or even what you bought. I've done that before. I go, I forgot I bought that. I've forgotten to wrap Christmas gifts before. I really have. Oops, my bad. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Leftist hates comedy. They don't like laughter. They don't like comedy. That's why they watch Jimmy Kimmel. It's not funny. That's true as well. Notice the logo on that, Turning Point USA. We stole it from them. We love you, Turning Point USA. We really do. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Gen X in a nutshell. We're 45 to 60 years of age. That's me. Still don't trust authority. Nope. Never will ask for help. It's hard to do. Still know every word to a song we haven't heard since 1987. We have bad backs, good instincts, and zero tolerance for BS. I can relate to most of that as a prolific Gen Xer. Matter of fact, I'm probably the poster child for Gen X, except I don't remember song lyrics that well. That part of my brain doesn't function. It's like the people who quote movies all the time. I remember this, they do movie quotes. I'm like, yeah, that's great. No freaking clue what you're talking about. Yeah, So every part of that's true except the song quotes. I still sometimes struggle with that. Unless it's Kenny Rogers. I could sing Kenny Rogers, but I think they're talking hair bands or something. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from China. We have offended the Chinese here. Stolen so much intellectual property here on the program that they have decided it's time for us to knock it off. All right, we've gone overtime on today's show. This was a bonus round for you. I do appreciate it. A lot of you are great sponsors of the program. Sherry Cree's got $500 of matching funds. Let me check. James Bradley, our great guest earlier, he gave $50. And there's Jeff jumped in. So we've spent $100 of Sherry Cree's money. We have matching funds. So Jeff's gift's going to become 100. James's gift now becomes 100. So we spent money from her. She's matching that. So Jeff gave 50. Sherry's going to give 50. James gave 50. Sherry's going to give 50. If you can help out and spend Sherry Cree's money up to $500, we need some more of you. And don't forget, we'll send you one of these terrific little coffee mugs in red, brought to you by as a listener request. We'd appreciate you jumping in there and doing that as well. Earlier in the day, we'll do this. Linda, I want to give you credit. She gave also. So we've spent. There's another 100 of Sherry Cree's money. So we've spent $200 of Sherry Cree's money. And she's got $300 left to go in the matching funds. If you'd like to donate, Linda, thank you very much for that. We'll send you a coffee mug as well. Linda, James, and Jeff. Sounds like a law firm. Kind of, but not really. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd donate, riverspromise.org, matching funds on the table, we'd appreciate it. And Jimmy can say, I can sing Kenny Rogers. You give me karaoke. You know, this shows a gamble. I mean, you got to know when to hold it, know when to fold. Yes. The Coward of the County. That's a great song. She Believes in Me was one of my all-time favorite Kenny Rogers songs. I loved it. Yeah, Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers. He's a great guy, great singer. Rest his soul. Rest in peace. All right, God bless everybody. Spend Sherry's money. We've got the $200 just came in here. So Jeff, James, and Linda, they total up $200, and that means $300 more. We'll do it. And again, don't forget make those donations. We'll send you a coffee mug. We'd really appreciate you doing it. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, Linda, by the way, please keep the mug. I have several. Linda just put that up there. Linda, keep the mug. Delilah, don't send Linda a mug because she already has some. Okay, that's fair. Linda, I appreciate you. Thank you for the donation. I didn't want that to go unnoticed. It popped in before I started mouthing off on the program, so it's a little buried on the sheet there. But Delilah did make sure I know that we had Linda jump in. Linda, thank you very much. All right, I got to wrap this program up. We're going overtime today. It's all free, though. Don't worry. I'm not charging you any extra for the extra fun that we're having here today. I promise you, it's not extra money. Some things we're going to be doing in the coming weeks and months of the program. Yeah, but maybe producer Chad and I had a big meeting yesterday. A brainstorming going on. It's going to be exciting. Donate, riverspromise.org. Go see Sherry Cree, sherrycree.com. HomesWithSherry.com. I am Jimmy Lakey. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. We'll see you tomorrow. May God bless you. May God please bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Peace. I'm out of here. I'm looking for those donations. RiversPromise.org.